Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome to the third episode of DhulQarnain, The Truth Revealed. In this episode, we will take you on his journey to the rising sun. In this episode, we will reveal to you the people whom DhulQarnain encountered in the land where the sun rises and why Allah brought DhulQarnain to meet this community before his journey to the people between the two mountains. But before that, let us reflect on Surah Al-Kahf, verses 90 and 91, along with their interpretation for today. Verse 90, till when he reached the rising place of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we had appointed no shelter therefrom. Verse 91, so it was, and we had full knowledge of all concerning him. Many interpreters have explained this verse as referring to DhulQarnain's arrival at the place of the rising sun, where he saw the sun rising and its intense heat shining upon a people who had no shelter from it.
We include here the exegesis of verse 90 by Ibn Kathir regarding the journey of DhulQarnain towards the place of the rising sun. Allah tells us that DhulQarnain then traveled from the west of the earth towards the east. Every time he passed a nation, he subjugated the people and called them to Allah. If they obeyed him, all well and good, otherwise he would humiliate them and take their wealth and possessions. From every nation, he took what his armies needed to fight the next nation. When he reached the place where the sun rises, as Allah says,
حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا.
He found it rising on a people, meaning a nation, for whom we, Allah, had provided no shelter against the sun, meaning they had no buildings or trees to cover them and shade them from the heat of the sun. Qatada said, it was mentioned to us that they were in a land where nothing grew, so when the sun rose they would go into tunnels until it had passed its zenith. Then they would come out to go about their daily lives and earn themselves a living. Did this people truly exist? Based on our research, as far as known through modern archaeological and historical studies, there is no specific civilization in human history that has been identified as living entirely without any form of protection from sunlight and only taking shelter in holes or caves whenever the sun rises, as mentioned by Qatada. There is no modern historical or archaeological evidence confirming the existence of a human nation that lived without any structures or shelters, relying solely on holes to shield themselves from sunlight. So who exactly were the people that DhulQarnain encountered when he arrived at the place of the rising sun? In reality, the verse from Surah Al-Kahfi has been misinterpreted by many commentators who suggested it means the sun rose upon a people forced to live under extreme sunlight. So what is the actual interpretation of the verse? Let's take a closer look and truly understand verse 90 from Surah Al-Kahfi, verse 90. Till, when he reached the rising place of the sun, he found it, rising on a people for whom we had appointed no shelter therefrom. The misinterpretation occurs in the part that says, he found it rising on a people for whom we had appointed no shelter therefrom. We have previously revealed how DhulQarnain traveled, that is, via teleportation. We have already presented evidence of the special knowledge Allah granted him, which is the ability of teleportation. In verse 40 of Surah An-Naml, DhulQarnain used this ability to transport the throne of Queen Balkis through teleportation. He brought the throne as requested by King Solomon. In another event mentioned by Allah in verse 86 of Surah Al-Kahfi, DhulQarnain teleported to a location at the setting of the sun and found himself setting into a black, muddy spring found in the Dead Sea. However, this verse has also been misinterpreted. Many claim DhulQarnain saw the sun setting into the sea, whereas Allah specifically mentioned a black muddy spring. Thus, it is clear that DhulQarnain was granted by Allah the ability to travel through teleportation.
In verse 90 of Surah Al-Kahf, the phrase he found it does not refer to the sun itself, but rather to DhulQarnain. It means he found himself appearing among a people in the region of the rising sun. The phrase appointed no shelter can be interpreted to mean that he posed no threat, harm, or barrier to this community. In this verse, DhulQarnain arrives in the eastern region through the same means as before, that is teleportation. Therefore, the correct understanding of verse 90 should be as follows. Surah 18, verse 90. Till when he arrived in the region of the rising sun, he found himself appearing before a people for whom we had not made him a threat. This leads to the next question. Why did Allah send Zulkarnain to the east to meet the people of the rising sun, and who were they? Where were they located? As previously revealed, the mighty barrier built by Zulkarnain to contain Ya'juj and Ma'juj required two critical materials, iron and molten copper. While molten copper could be sourced from the stream of King Solomon, one question remains. Where did Zulkarnain find the massive amount of iron needed for such a colossal construction? In our search, we uncovered remarkable evidence, ancient iron-smelting sites that once thrived in the east, in the very region known as the Land of the Rising Sun. Among them, one stands out, Sungai Batu, located in Kedah, Malaysia. This site holds the title of the oldest known civilization in Southeast Asia, predating even Angkor Wat in the Roman Empire. Archaeological findings show that as early as 788 BCE, iron was mined and smelted here. Using wind-powered furnaces and the force of the monsoon winds, the people of Sungai Batu molded molten iron into bars and tools, both for their own use and for trade. Today, this ancient site is recognized as one of the earliest industrial zones in the world and has been proposed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. With this knowledge, we believe it was part of Allah's divine plan. Zulkarnain's first visit to the people of the rising sun was to build trust and connection. Then on his second visit, he returned, not just as a traveler, but seeking their help to extract the vast quantities of iron needed to build the legendary barrier against Ya'juj and Ma'juj. That's all for episode 3 of Zulkarnain, The Truth Revealed, A Journey Towards the Rising Sun. Coming soon, episode 4 of Zulkarnain, The Truth Revealed, A Journey Towards the People Between the Two Mountains. Don't forget to like, follow, and share so you won't miss the next episode. If you have any questions about the series, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you and wassalam.